They say vampires fear the light. They're wrong. What they fear most is forgetting they were ever human at all. 3 o'clock in the morning. A hospital emergency room that smells of antiseptic and desperation. A woman's hands, 45 years old and scarred from a war fought half a world away, holding a scalpel over a man who should not bleed. The man on the operating table has skin the color of marble, eyes like winter frost, a bullet wound in his chest that gleams silver under the surgical lights. And in 6 words, the woman standing over him will bring a 700-year-old empire to its knees. But that comes later. First, there is the silence. The kind of silence that comes at 3 in the morning when the city sleeps and the dying arrive. Providence Hospital in Portland, Oregon, 4th floor trauma bay. Dr. Lyra Thornwell has been on shift for 14 hours. Her feet ache. Her lower back screams. The coffee she drank at midnight sits bitter in her stomach. She doesn't complain. Women who survived Fallujah don't complain about aching feet. The emergency room doors burst open. Not the automatic slide of an ambulance arrival, the crash of hands slamming metal. 2 men in black tactical suits carry a third between them. The third man wears a charcoal suit that probably costs more than Lyra makes in 3 months. Blood soaks through the Italian fabric. Gunshot wound. The first man barks. No introduction. No insurance card. Chest. 10 minutes ago. Lyra doesn't look up from the suture she's finishing on a construction worker who came in with a table saw injury. Trauma Bay 2. Nurse will triage. No. The voice that speaks next is not loud. It doesn't need to be. It fills the room like cold water filling a glass. You will treat me. Now. Lyra ties off the suture, snips the thread. Her hands don't shake. They haven't shaken since the day an IED took out her convoy outside Ramadi, and she had to perform a field amputation with a K-bar knife and a belt tourniquet. She turns. The man they're carrying is conscious. That alone is remarkable. The wound in his chest, visible through the torn shirt, should have dropped him in seconds. But his eyes are open, alert, fixed on her with an intensity that makes the fluorescent lights seem dim. I don't know you, Lyra says. Her voice is flat, professional. The voice she uses when telling families their loved one didn't make it. I need consent forms. I need medical history. You need to save my life. The man's lips barely move, but the words land like stones in still water. I own this hospital, the building you're standing in, the equipment you use, the salary you draw. He coughs. Blood flecks his teeth, not red, darker. You will treat me. The 2 men in tactical gear set him on the gurney in Bay 2. They don't leave. Their hands stay inside their jackets. Lyra has seen that posture before. Kandahar, Baghdad, men who carry weapons and know how to use them. She walks to the gurney. Up close, the man is strange. Not just pale, luminous, like bone china held up to candlelight. The wound in his chest is a perfect circle. Entry, no exit. Silver gleams at the edges. Silver bullet, Lyra observes. That's not standard ammunition. No. The man's eyes find hers. They're gray, not blue-gray or steel-gray, the gray of winter clouds before snow. It's not. Lyra reaches for gloves, snaps them on. I need consent. Hospital policy. No consent, no treatment. I don't care if you own the building or the city. Those are the rules. The emergency room goes very still. One of the tactical men takes a step forward. His hand emerges from his jacket. Not holding a weapon, holding a phone. "One call," he says quietly, "and you're fired. Your medical license revoked. Your daughter's treatment at this hospital terminated. Lyra's hands stop. For the first time in 14 hours, something flickers across her face. Not fear. Calculation. You know about Elise. We know everything, Dr. Thornwell. The wounded man's voice is stronger now. He sits up on the gurney. The movement should be impossible with a bullet lodged 3 inches from his heart. We know your daughter has hemophilia. Type A, severe. We know she requires factor VIII infusions every 48 hours at $8,000 per treatment. We know your insurance coverage maxed out 6 months ago and you're paying out of pocket. He leans forward. We know you're drowning in debt, $180,000. Medical bills for your daughter, nursing home costs for your mother who has Alzheimer's and doesn't remember your name most days. We know you work 4 14-hour shifts per week and pick up extra hours in the free clinic on Burnside because every dollar counts. Lyra's jaw tightens. We know, the man continues, that you're a good doctor, one of the best trauma surgeons in the Pacific Northwest. And we know that you don't break rules, not even for men who own buildings. The silence stretches. Then Lyra does something that will change both their lives. She picks up a clipboard, hands it to the man. Sign the consent form, standard surgical consent. It says you understand the risks. It says you won't sue me if you die on my table. And it says you acknowledge that you demanded this treatment against medical advice. The man stares at her. Around them, the emergency room holds its breath. The tactical men tense. Somewhere, a heart monitor beeps. A phone rings at the nurse's station. Normal sounds of a hospital at night. Not normal. The smile that spreads across the wounded man's face. It's not a kind smile. It's the smile of a predator who's just found worthy prey. Steel, he murmurs. Actual steel. Not the kind you buy, the kind forged in fire. He takes the clipboard. Signs with a fountain pen one of the tactical men produces from nowhere. The signature is ornate, old-fashioned, the handwriting of someone who learned to write with a quill. Magnus Ashford. There, he says, handing it back. Your rules. Satisfied? No. Lyra doesn't look at the signature. She's already moving, calling orders to the trauma team, prepping the bay. But it'll do. Someone get me O-negative on standby, full surgical kit, and someone call up to the penthouse suite and tell them we're using their operating theater. The penthouse? A nurse blinks. That's the VIP. That's where he's going. Lyra's hands are already cutting away the suit jacket, the shirt beneath, exposing the wound. Because if we do this in the main surgical wing, every doctor in this hospital will want to know why I'm operating on a man with a silver bullet in his chest and blood that looks like old motor oil. Magnus Ashford laughs. It's not a sound Lyra expected. It's genuine, warm. The laugh of a man who hasn't been surprised in a very long time and finds the sensation delightful. You're observant, doctor. I'm a surgeon. Lyra probes the wound edges. The flesh is cool to the touch. Room temperature, not the warmth of living tissue. Observing is my job. Also, you're not breathing. Excuse me? Your chest isn't moving. No respiratory rate. No breath sounds. She places her stethoscope against his sternum. Listens. Heartbeat is there, but it's slow. Maybe 20 beats per minute? That should put you in cardiac arrest. She straightens, looks him in the eye. So either you're a medical anomaly that'll make me famous when I publish the case study, or you're something the medical textbooks don't cover. Either way, I'm taking that bullet out before the silver poisoning spreads, Because yes, I can see it spreading. Those black lines along your veins? That's necrosis, tissue death, and it's moving toward your heart. Magnus Ashford sits very still. Then he does something Lyra doesn't expect. He reaches out, takes her hand. His fingers are cold, strong. The grip of someone who could crush bone, but chooses not to. "When you remove the bullet," he says quietly, "I will heal. Faster than you think possible. My blood will change from black to red. My skin will warm, and you will have questions. I already have questions. I will answer them. After." His eyes hold hers. "But right now, Dr. Thornwell, I need you to do what you do best. Save a life. Even one that's already 700 years past its expiration date." The words hang in the air. 700 years. Lyra should laugh, should call psych, should do a dozen things that a rational doctor would do when a patient claims to be older than the United States. Instead, she squeezes his hand once, brief, professional. "Gurney's ready. Let's go." The penthouse operating theater is not like any surgical suite Lyra has ever worked in. It's on the hospital's 20th floor, a level that doesn't appear on the elevator buttons most people can access. The tactical man swipes a key card, presses a code. The elevator rises in silence. When the doors open, Lyra steps into what looks like a surgical suite, designed by someone with unlimited money and no oversight committee. The floors are heated, real hardwood, not linoleum. The surgical lights are LED, the kind that cost $30,000 each. The operating table is a custom piece, motorized, with more adjustment options than Lyra has ever seen. And the view. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook Portland. The Willamette River snakes through the city like a dark ribbon. Bridges glow with streetlights. In the distance, Mount Hood rises white against the night sky. "You operate with a view?" Lyra asks. "I find it calming." Magnus is already on the table. One of the tactical men has somehow produced surgical drapes, an anesthesia cart, equipment that shouldn't be here, but is. "Dr. Thornwell, a word before we begin." Lyra scrubs at the sink. Surgical soap, hot water, the ritual movements she's performed 10,000 times. "If this is where you threaten me again—" "No." His voice is different now, quieter. "This is where I apologize." Her hands still under the water. "I threatened your daughter, used your debt as leverage, forced you to treat me against hospital policy." Magnus stares at the ceiling. "In 700 years, I've done many things I regret. But threatening a child's medical care?" He closes his eyes. "That's low, even for me." Lyra dries her hands, slow, methodical movements. "Is this the part where you expect me to say, 'It's okay'? That I forgive you?" "No." "Good." She pulls on sterile gloves, approaches the table. "Because I don't. You used my daughter as leverage. That's unforgivable. But I'm a doctor, and doctors treat everyone, even bastards who threaten children." She positions the surgical light. "After this is done, you're going to pay for Elise's treatments. Not as a threat, not as leverage, as compensation for what you put me through tonight. 1 year of Factor 8, full coverage, non-negotiable." Magnus opens his eyes. "Done. And you're going to donate to the free clinic on Burnside. Enough to keep it running for 5 years. Anonymous donation. No press. No tax write-off." "Done. And you're never going to threaten me or mine again. Because next time, I won't operate. I'll let you bleed out on the floor and tell the police you refused treatment." A pause. Then Magnus smiles. "I like you, Dr. Thornwell." "I don't care." Lyra picks up the scalpel. Anesthesia? Won't work on me. Just remove the bullet. This will hurt. Everything hurts when you live long enough. Lyra makes the first incision. The flesh parts clean. The blood that wells up is indeed black. Thick. Wrong. But Lyra has seen worse. She's operated in field hospitals where the lights ran on generators, and the sterile technique was wipe it with alcohol and pray. She works fast, precise. The bullet is lodged between the 4th and 5th ribs, 3 inches deep, surrounded by tissue that looks necrotic but still bleeds. Magnus doesn't make a sound. Most patients would be screaming. Even with anesthesia, the body knows when it's being cut. But Magnus lies perfectly still. Only his hands betray him. They grip the edges of the operating table, hard enough that the metal bends. Almost there, Lyra murmurs, more to herself than him. Forceps, irrigation, suction. The tactical men, now in surgical masks, assist. They're not trained medical personnel, but they follow orders. Hold retractors, apply suction, move with military precision. Lyra wonders what kind of man inspires that loyalty. What kind of man needs bodyguards in an operating room? The bullet comes free with a wet sound. Silver, custom-made. The tip is hollow, filled with something that looks like mercury. Fascinating, Lyra says. Someone really wanted you dead. Someone always wants me dead, doctor. She drops the bullet into a specimen tray, begins cleaning the wound. The silver. Why silver? Old superstition. Silver kills vampires. Does it? If you get enough of it in the bloodstream, yes. Causes acute necrosis, systemic organ failure. Even we can die from organ failure if it happens fast enough. Lyra pauses, looks at him. We? Magnus meets her gaze. Yes. The word hangs between them. Around them, the city sleeps. The heart monitors beep. Somewhere in the hospital, someone codes. Nurses rush. Doctors shout. The normal chaos of a night shift. In this room, there's only silence. You're serious, Lyra says finally. I've never been more serious about anything in 7 centuries. She should call security, should run, should do something other than stand here with her hands inside a vampire's chest cavity. Instead, she finishes cleaning the wound. The necrosis is reversing, she observes. Clinical. Detached. The tissue is regenerating, cellular level. I can actually see it happening. Told you I'd heal. Your blood is changing too, from black to red. Not human red, darker, but closer to normal. Vampiric healing. We're hard to kill, harder to keep dead. Lyra begins suturing. So why come to a hospital? Why not just let yourself heal? Silver poisoning spreads faster than we heal. Without extraction, the bullet would have migrated to my heart. Stopped it. Even vampires need functioning hearts. Hence the surgery. Hence the best trauma surgeon in Portland. Lyra ties off the final suture, steps back. The wound is closed, clean. In 12 hours, it'll be a scar. In 24, it'll be gone. She strips off her gloves. So, she says, vampires are real. Yes. You're 700 years old. 732 to be precise. And you own this hospital. I own several hospitals, 12 across the Pacific Northwest. It's a good investment. Hospitals, nursing homes, blood banks, all essential services, all profitable. Lyra crosses her arms. Blood banks. I'm a vampire, doctor, not a monster. We don't drain blood banks. We invest in them, make them better, safer, more efficient. It's good business and good ethics. Ethics. She laughs. It's not a happy sound. You threatened my daughter. Magnus sits up. The movement is fluid. No stiffness. No pain. He swings his legs off the table. Stands. The surgical drapes fall away. One of the tactical men produces a shirt. Black silk. Magnus shrugs into it. Doesn't bother with buttons. I did, he says, and I'll regret it for the rest of my very long life. But Dr. Thornwell, may I call you Lyra? No. Dr. Thornwell, I came to you because I needed the best, and threats were the fastest way to ensure your cooperation. I'm not proud of it, but I'm also not going to pretend I'm a good man. 700 years strips away a lot of illusions about morality. He walks to the window, looks out at the city. I was a medic once. Normandy, June 6, 1944, D-Day. I was 24 years old and terrified. We hit Omaha Beach at 06:30. The water ran red before we got to shore. His reflection in the glass is pale, ghostly. I treated men while shells landed around us, held pressure on wounds that wouldn't stop bleeding, watched boys not old enough to shave die calling for their mothers. And when a German sniper put a round through my chest, I thought that was it. End of story. He turns, faces her. But it wasn't. Something found me in that field hospital. Someone. A medic from the Great War who'd been turned in 1918. He offered me a choice. Die or live forever. Keep saving lives. Keep making a difference. Magnus's eyes are distant, haunted. I chose life, and for 700 years I've regretted and celebrated that choice in equal measure. Lyra says nothing. She's standing in a penthouse operating room, listening to a vampire talk about D-Day, and she has nothing to say. The point, Magnus continues, is that I know what it means to save lives. I respect that calling, and I disrespected it tonight by threatening you, by using your daughter, by forcing your hand. He reaches into his pocket, produces a checkbook, an actual paper checkbook. Who uses those anymore? He writes, tears off the check, hands it to Lyra. She looks at it. $100,000. First installment, Magnus says, for Elise's treatments. The rest will be wired to your account by morning. 1 year, fully covered, as agreed. Lyra stares at the check, at the number, at the signature that matches the consent form. Why? Her voice is barely a whisper. Why me? There are other surgeons, better surgeons. Why threaten and bribe and manipulate when you could have just asked? Magnus is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, because I saw your file, read your service record. Medic, Iraq War, 3 tours, Bronze Star for valor, Silver Star for pulling 5 men out of a burning Humvee while under fire. You operated in conditions that would break most surgeons, and you never quit, never broke, never looked away. He steps closer. I needed someone with steel in their spine, someone who wouldn't panic when my blood ran black, someone who'd see a monster on the table and still do their job. His eyes hold hers. I needed someone like me, a medic who understands that saving lives isn't clean, isn't pretty. Sometimes it's messy and ugly, and you have to make choices that haunt you. But you do it anyway, because that's the job. Lyra folds the check, puts it in her pocket. Don't compare us. I save lives. You threatened a child. Fair point. And I'm not like you. I'm human. Mortal. I'll die in 40 or 50 years if I'm lucky. You'll keep going, keep living, keep forgetting what it means to be human. Something flickers across Magnus's face. Pain, maybe, or recognition. You're right, he says softly. I am forgetting. Every year I forget a little more. What it felt like to be warm, to taste food, to sleep and dream. The little human things that made life worth living. He turns back to the window. That's why I needed you specifically, Dr. Thornwell. Not just for the surgery, but as a reminder of what I was, what I'm losing, what I can't afford to forget. Lyra should leave, should take the check and run, should never see this man again. Instead, she asks, "What happens now?" Now? Magnus glances at her. Now you go home, sleep, spend time with your daughter, and in 1 week, if you're willing, we talk again, about a more permanent arrangement. What kind of arrangement? The kind where you become my anchor, my reminder, my connection to humanity. He smiles. It's sad, weary, the smile of someone who's carried a weight for too long. The kind where I pay you more money than you'd make in 10 years of hospital work, where your daughter gets the best medical care available, where your mother lives out her final years in comfort. In exchange for what? Your time, your presence, your humanity. Magnus crosses his arms. 1 or 2 years. Live in my world. Attend my functions. Remind me what it means to feel, to care, to be something more than a walking corpse with money. Lyra laughs. It bursts out before she can stop it. That's the worst job offer I've ever heard. Probably. You're asking me to babysit a vampire, essentially. To be your emotional support human. I prefer the term anchor, but yes. She shakes her head. No, absolutely not. I have a job, a daughter, a life that doesn't include vampires and penthouse operating rooms and whatever this is. I understand. Magnus nods. The offer stands. 1 week. Think about it. No pressure. No threats. And if I say no, then you say no. The money for Elise's treatments still transfers. The clinic donation still happens. You never see me again. He extends his hand. Thank you for saving my life, Dr. Thornwell. Truly. Lyra looks at the offered hand. She should walk away, should leave this room and never look back. But she thinks about the check in her pocket, about Elisa's next infusion in 2 days, about the bills piling up on her kitchen counter, about her mother in that nursing home asking for a daughter whose name she can't remember. She shakes his hand. His grip is firm, cool, the handshake of someone who's made 1,000 deals and kept every one. 1 week, Lyra says. I'll think about it, but I'm not promising anything. That's all I ask. She heads for the elevator. The tactical men step aside, professional, silent, disappearing into the background like smoke. At the elevator, Lyra pauses. Magnus? Yes? That check. If it bounces, I'm coming back with a wooden stake and a very bad attitude. Magnus laughs. It won't bounce. I may be a monster, Dr. Thornwell, but I always pay my debts. The elevator doors close. Lyra rides down in silence. Her mind races. Vampires. 700 years. Anchors. Job offers that sound like something from a Gothic novel. The lobby is empty. 3:45 a.m. The night shift at its quietest. Lyra walks to the parking garage. Her car is a 15-year-old Honda with 200,000 miles. The back seat has Elise's booster seat. The cup holder has cold coffee from yesterday. Normal things. Human things. She sits in the driver's seat, doesn't start the engine, just sits, looking at the hospital. The building she's worked in for 8 years. The place where she saves lives and fights death and does her job. A building owned by a vampire. Lyra laughs again. This time it's edged with hysteria. What the hell just happened? Her phone buzzes. A text from her mother's nursing home. Margaret had a good day. Remembered Lyra's name. Asked about Elise. Wanted to know when they'd visit. Another text. From Elise's pediatric hematologist. Reminder about tomorrow's infusion. $8,000. Due on arrival. Lyra looks at the check in her pocket. $100,000. Money she desperately needs. Money from a vampire. She starts the car, drives home through empty streets. Her apartment is in Selwood, 2 bedrooms, 9th floor. The rent is controlled, but still eats half her paycheck. She parks, takes the elevator up. The hallway smells like someone's cooking curry. Her neighbor's cat meows at her door. Inside, the babysitter is asleep on the couch. Mrs. Chen, an elderly woman from 9C, who watches Elise on night shifts. Lyra pays her $30 a night. Money she can't spare, but needs. "Mrs. Chen," Lyra whispers. "Time to go home." The old woman startles awake. "Oh, Dr. Thornwell. Long shift?" "You have no idea. Elise was an angel. Did her homework. Had dinner. Asleep by 9. Mrs. Chen gathers her knitting. "She asked about you. When you'd be home." Guilt twists in Lyra's stomach. "I'll make it up to her. Pancakes for breakfast." "You're a good mother." Mrs. Chen pats her arm. "See you Thursday?" "Thursday. Thanks, Mrs. Chen." The door closes. Lyra stands in her living room. The apartment is small but clean. Toys in the corner. Medical textbooks on the shelf. Photos on the wall. Elise's school pictures. Lyra's military portrait. Her parents' wedding photo. Normal. Safe. Everything that happened tonight feels like a fever dream. She checks on Elise. Her daughter is asleep in a twin bed shaped like a race car. Red curls spread across the pillow. Small hands clutching a stuffed elephant. She's 10 years old and small for her age. The hemophilia makes her bruise easily, fall easily, bleed easily. Lyra sits on the edge of the bed, strokes her daughter's hair. "I met a vampire tonight," she whispers. "He offered me a job, a crazy job, the kind that'll either save us or destroy us." Elise doesn't wake, just shifts, murmurs something about horses. Lyra kisses her forehead. "Sleep tight, baby." She goes to her own room, strips out of her scrubs. They smell like antiseptic and blood. She tosses them in the hamper, stands under the shower until the hot water runs cold. When she crawls into bed, it's after 4 a.m. She has to be up at 7, get Elise ready for school, drive to the clinic for the infusion, then back to the hospital for another shift. The cycle never stops. Unless she takes the offer. Unless she becomes an anchor for a 700-year-old vampire who owns hospitals and survives silver bullets and remembers D-Day. Lyra closes her eyes. Sleep doesn't come. Instead, she thinks about Magnus Ashford standing at that window, looking at the city like a man who owns it but finds no joy in the ownership, who talks about forgetting humanity like it's something slipping through his fingers. She thinks about 700 years, about D-Day and Stalingrad, and all the wars in between, about living so long that you forget what it means to live. and she thinks about the check in her pocket. $100,000. The first installment on a deal she hasn't accepted. Money she can't refuse. A job she shouldn't take. A choice that isn't really a choice at all. Because sometimes the only way forward is through the fire, even if the fire has fangs and a 700-year-old smile. Lyra finally sleeps and dreams of operating rooms with views of cities, of hands that don't shake even when they should, of 6 words that will change everything, words she hasn't said yet, but will, soon. 5 days pass before Lyra sees Magnus Ashford again. 5 days of normal, of routine, of pretending that night in the penthouse operating room was just exhaustion and stress and too much coffee. The check clears. $100,000 appears in Lyra's account on Tuesday morning. She stares at her phone for 10 minutes, refreshes the banking app 3 times, calls the bank to confirm it's real. It's real. Wednesday, she pays for Elise's infusion without the usual knot of anxiety in her stomach. The nurse at the hematology clinic raises her eyebrows when Lyra's card doesn't decline. No need for the payment plan. No need for the apologetic conversation about next month. Just payment. Clean. Simple. Thursday, Lyra transfers $15,000 to her mother's nursing home. 6 months paid in advance. The administrator sounds shocked. Grateful. They've been kind about the late payments, but kindness doesn't pay bills. Friday, Lyra works a double shift. Not because she needs the money, because she needs the normalcy. The familiar rhythm of the emergency room. Broken bones and chest pain and overdoses. Problems she can solve with medicine and training. Not vampires. Not 700-year-old men who survive silver bullets and remember beaches running red. Saturday night, everything changes. Lyra is walking home from the grocery store. It's late, after 11. She picked up a shift at the free clinic on Burnside and stopped for milk on the way home. The Portland streets are quieter than usual. Rain earlier has left the pavement slick and gleaming under the streetlights. She's 2 blocks from her apartment when the smell hits her. Rot. Sweet and cloying. Like meat left in the sun too long. Lyra's combat instincts kick in before her conscious mind catches up. She drops the grocery bag, turns. Her hand goes to her jacket pocket where she keeps a small canister of pepper spray. 4 figures step out of the alley. They move wrong. Too fluid. Too fast. Their clothes are mismatched, dirty. One wears a business suit that might have been expensive once. Another wears what looks like a hospital gown. The third is barefoot, despite the cold. The fourth is a woman. Was a woman. Her face is gaunt, eyes sunken, teeth filed to points that gleam in the streetlight. "There she is," the woman hisses. Her voice sounds wet, damaged. The one Ashford likes. The new pet. Lyra backs up, calculates distances. 4 against 1. She's trained. Iraq taught her how to fight, how to survive. But these things are fast. "I don't know what you're talking about," Lyra says. Her voice is steady, the voice she uses in the ER when things go bad. Calm. Professional. "Step back." The woman laughs. It's not a human sound. She doesn't even know. Ashford didn't tell her what she is, what she's become. The man in the business suit circles left. "We're sending a message. Ashford thinks he can walk among the humans, thinks he can have pets, thinks he can pretend to be civilized. We're going to drain you dry," the one in the hospital gown whispers. Leave your body on his doorstep. Show him what happens when you forget what you are. They attack. Lyra has maybe 2 seconds of warning. The woman moves first. A blur of motion. Lyra sidesteps. Training from hand-to-hand combat courses. The woman's claws, actual claws, yellowed and jagged, rake the air where Lyra's throat was. The pepper spray comes out. Lyra sprays, gets the woman full in the face. The woman doesn't even blink. "Silver burns us," she snarls. "Not capsaicin." Lyra runs. She's not stupid. 4 enhanced opponents. No backup. No weapons that work. Running is the only option. She makes it half a block before they catch her. The man in the suit tackles her from behind. They hit the pavement hard. Lyra's breath explodes out of her lungs. Her head cracks against concrete. Stars burst behind her eyes. Hands grab her, flip her over. The woman leans close. Her breath smells like old blood and decay. "Hold her," the woman commands. "I want her awake for this." Fingers like iron bands pin Lyra's arms. Another set holds her legs. She struggles, kicks, connects with something that should be soft tissue but feels like stone. The woman's mouth opens wide, wider than human jaws allow. Lyra sees those filed teeth, sees the darkness beyond them. This is it. This is how she dies. Not in Iraq, not in an operating room, in a Portland street, killed by things that shouldn't exist. Elise flashes through her mind. Her daughter. Who will take care of her? Who will pay for her treatments? Who will... A sound splits the night. Not a shout. A whistle. High and sharp. The kind of whistle drill sergeants use to stop everything. The woman freezes, looks up. A figure stands at the end of the block. Tall, female, wearing what looks like tactical gear under a long coat. Platinum blonde hair cut short. In her hand, a curved blade that catches the streetlight and throws it back like captured moonlight. "Release her," the figure says. Her voice is flat, emotionless. "Or join the ash on the wind." The 4 things holding Lyra exchange glances. Then they drop her and run, all 4, scattering like roaches when the light comes on. 1 second they're there, the next they're gone. Superhuman speed carrying them into the darkness. The figure walks forward, slow, measured. Her boots make no sound on the wet pavement. Lyra sits up. Her head throbs. Her palms are scraped raw from the fall. But she's alive. The figure stops 3 feet away, offers a hand. Lyra takes it. The grip is strong, cold. She's pulled to her feet like she weighs nothing. Up close, the woman is striking. Sharp features, ice blue eyes. No expression on her face. She could be 30 or 300. Impossible to tell. "My name is Bryn Garrett," the woman says. "I am head of Mr. Ashford's personal security. You are Dr. Lyra Thornwell, and as of 5 days ago, you became a target." Lyra touches her head. Her fingers come away with blood. Those things, what were they? Ferals, low-level vampires, cast out from the organized covens for violating the code. They live on the streets, prey on the homeless, the forgotten. Usually we contain them, but these were sent, deliberately. Sent by who? Lucian Drake, Mr. Ashford's rival. Bryn sheathes her blade. It disappears into her coat like it was never there. He's challenging for control of the Pacific Northwest Territory. Killing you sends a message. Ashford is weak, distracted, unable to protect what's his. I'm not his anything. You accepted his money. That makes you connected. In vampire politics, connection equals ownership. Bryn tilts her head, studies Lyra like a specimen. Your apartment building is 2 blocks east, currently on fire. Arson. Accelerant used. Professional job. The words take a moment to penetrate. Then Lyra is running. She doesn't think, just runs. Bryn keeps pace easily. They round the corner, and Lyra sees it. Her building, 9th floor. Flames pouring from the windows. Fire trucks already there. Lights stroking red and blue against the smoke. People in the street. Neighbors in bathrobes and pajamas. The smell of burning plastic and wood. "Elise," Lyra gasps. "My daughter, she's..." Safe. Bryn's hand on her arm is gentle, firm. "Mr. Ashford's people evacuated her and your mother 17 minutes ago, before the fire started. They're currently in a vehicle heading to Montana. A secure facility, climate-controlled. Medical staff on site." Lyra stops, stares at Bryn. "He kidnapped my daughter?" "He saved her from Lucian Drake's arson team." Bryn's expression doesn't change. "The Farrells were a distraction. Keep you busy while the real team hit your home. They would have killed everyone inside, made it look like an accident. By the time you returned, your family would be ash." The street spins. Lyra has performed surgery on soldiers with their intestines hanging out. Has held men together while helicopters evacuated them from hot zones. Has stayed calm through things that would break most people. This breaks her. She sits down hard on the curb. Her hands shake. The adrenaline is wearing off, and shock is setting in. Bryn sits next to her, doesn't touch her, just sits, present. "He should have asked," Lyra whispers. "Should have warned me. Not just taken them." "Would you have believed him? 5 days ago you thought vampires were fiction." Bryn looks at the burning building. "Mr. Ashford makes hard choices, fast choices. Not always right choices, but he prioritizes life over feelings. I want to see them, my daughter, my mother, now. They're 3 hours away by car. Mr. Ashford has a helicopter standing by. We can leave in 10 minutes. Bryn stands, offers her hand again. "Or you can stay. Talk to the fire department. Fill out reports. Sleep in a hotel. Wait until morning." Lyra looks at her apartment building, at the flames consuming everything she owns. Photos, clothes, Elise's toys, her mother's knitting. Gone. All of it. She takes Bryn's hand. "Helicopter." The facility in Montana is not what Lyra expects. She expects a compound, high walls, guards, something from a thriller movie. Instead, it's a ranch, sprawling, beautiful, set in a valley with mountains rising on 3 sides. The main house is log construction, warm lights in the windows, smoke rising from a stone chimney. The helicopter lands in a field behind the house. The rotors are still spinning down when Lyra jumps out, runs. The front door opens. Elise stands there, alive, whole. Wearing pajamas Lyra doesn't recognize. Her red curls are messy from sleep. "Mom!" She runs forward. They collide in the doorway. Lyra drops to her knees, wraps her daughter in a hug that might be too tight, but she doesn't care. Elise is warm, real, alive. "I'm okay," Elise says. Her voice is muffled against Lyra's shoulder. "The nice man said you'd come. He said you were working. There was a fire, and we had to leave fast, but I grabbed Elephant." She holds up her stuffed animal. "Mrs. Chen is here too, and Grandma. Grandma knew my name tonight, Mom. She called me Elise 3 times. Lyra is crying. She doesn't cry often. Cried when her father died. Cried when Elise was diagnosed. Cried the night she came back from Iraq. Now she cries because her daughter is safe. "Come inside," a voice says. Magnus Ashford stands in the doorway. He's wearing jeans and a sweater. Casual clothes. He looks different. Younger somehow. Or maybe just less formal. Lyra stands, keeps Elise close. "You kidnapped my daughter." "I saved your daughter." Magnus's voice is quiet. "Lucian Drake had a 4-person arson team hit your building at 11:15 p.m. 2 teams, actually. One for the fire, one for the ferals to distract you. I had your family extracted at 1100 hours, before the attack." "You could have asked. You would have said no. Thought I was paranoid, crazy. By the time you believed me, they'd be dead." "So you just took them? Decided for me?" Magnus meets her gaze. "Yes, I made the call. Prioritized their safety over your consent. If that makes me a monster, fine. I've been called worse." The silence stretches. Elise looks between them. "Mom, are you mad at Mr. Ashford? He makes really good hot chocolate. And his chef made borscht. It's like soup, but better." Lyra closes her eyes, breathes. "Go inside, baby. Find Mrs. Chen. I need to talk to Mr. Ashford." "Are you going to yell? Because the nice Lady Bryn said you might yell." "I might yell a little." "Okay." Elise hugs her mother once more, then skips inside. 10 years old and resilient. Already adapting. Lyra waits until the door closes. Then she turns to Magnus. "Don't ever," she says. Each word precise, controlled. "Ever. Make decisions about my family without consulting me. I don't care if you're 700 years old. I don't care if you think you know better. She's my daughter, my mother, my responsibility." "Noted. I mean it. I believe you." Magnus leans against the doorframe. "I also believe you're still alive because I made that call. And Elise is still alive. And your mother. So while I respect your anger, I don't regret my actions." "You should have warned me." "I did, 5 days ago. I told you that accepting my money made you a target, that my world is dangerous. You thought I was being dramatic." Lyra hates that he's right. "What now?" she asks finally. "My home is gone. My daughter knows something is wrong. I can't keep lying to her." "Now we talk." Magnus gestures inside. "Your mother is asleep. Mrs. Chen is watching television. Elise needs to see you calm before she sleeps. After that, you and I have a conversation. A real one. About what happens next." "The job offer." "The job offer." Lyra follows him inside. The house is warm, comfortable, not ostentatious. The furniture is leather and wood. A fire crackles in a stone fireplace. Bookshelves line one wall. Old books, the kind with leather bindings and gold lettering. Mrs. Chen sits in an armchair watching a Korean drama. She looks up, smiles. "Dr. Thornwell, Elise was so good. No fuss about leaving. She packed elephant all by herself." "Thank you, Mrs. Chen. Mr. Ashford paid me for 2 weeks, said we're on vacation." The old woman looks delighted. "I've never been to Montana." Lyra finds Elise in what must be a guest room. Twin beds, quilts, a window looking out at mountains. She tucks her daughter in, strokes her hair. "Everything's okay, baby. We're safe here." "I know," Elise yawns. "Mr. Ashford promised. He said promises are debts, and debts must be paid." "He said that?" "Uh-huh. He's weird, but nice. Like Mr. Rogers, if Mr. Rogers was scary." Lyra laughs, despite everything. "Sleep. I'll be right down the hall." "Love you, Mom." "Love you too." She waits until Elise's breathing evens out, then heads back downstairs. Magnus is in what looks like a study. Oak desk, leather chairs, a map of the Pacific Northwest on one wall, pins marking locations. He's pouring amber liquid into 2 glasses. "Bourbon," he says, 50-year-old, from Kentucky. One of the benefits of living long enough to let things age properly. Lyra takes the offered glass, doesn't drink. Talk. All of it. No more games. Magnus sits, gestures to the other chair. Lyra remains standing. "Lucian Drake," Magnus begins, "is a rival. 300 years old, controls territory in California. He wants the Pacific Northwest, specifically Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver. Blood trade routes, shipping ports, tech industry money." Blood trade? Vampires need blood to survive. We don't hunt humans anymore. Too risky, too messy, too many cameras. Instead, we have supply chains, blood banks, plasma centers, paid donors, legal, clean, profitable. He swirls his bourbon. "I control the Pacific Northwest blood trade. 12 hospitals, 8 blood banks, 4 plasma centers. It generates approximately $500 million annually. Lucian wants it. To take it, he needs to prove I'm weak, unable to lead, distracted. By me. By you. The moment you saved my life, you became leverage. In vampire politics, connections are weapons. Love is weakness. Trust is exploitable." Lyra drinks. The bourbon burns. Good burn. "So he'll keep coming after me, after my family. Until what? You give up? Hand over your empire?" "Until I prove I'm not weak, that I can protect what's mine. Or until one of us is dead." Magnus looks at her. "I won't surrender. And I don't plan to die, which means I need to eliminate the threat. Kill him. Eventually. But first, I need to show the other vampire lords that I'm stable, in control, not some grief-stricken ancient losing his grip." "Are you losing your grip?" Magnus is quiet for a long moment. "Yes." The honesty surprises her. 700 years, he continues, is a long time to remember what it means to be human, to care about individual lives, to feel anything beyond hunger and calculation. Most vampires my age are either dead or feral, lost to madness. He sets down his glass. "I've survived by being careful, by maintaining distance, by not caring too deeply about anything or anyone. But that distance is killing me in a different way, making me cold, empty. A monster with money instead of just a monster." "The anchor," Lyra says. "The anchor. I've had 3 in 700 years. The first was a soldier from the trenches in 1917. He lasted 15 years before old age took him. The second was a nurse from London during the Blitz. 20 years together. She died in a car accident in 1962. His voice softens. The third was Rose, a teacher from Boston. She became my anchor in 1968. 30 years we had. 30 good years. She reminded me how to laugh, how to enjoy small things, how to be something more than a predator. What happened to her? She took her own life in 1998. Left a note. May's "The weight of my world" was crushing her. The politics, the danger, the constant fear. She couldn't handle it anymore. Magnus looks at his hands. "I swore after Rose that I wouldn't take another anchor, wouldn't put anyone through that again. But here I am, 732 years old, and I'm forgetting what food tastes like, what music sounds like, what any of it means." He meets Lyra's eyes. "So I'm asking, not threatening, not manipulating, asking. Be my anchor for 2 years. Help me remember humanity. In exchange, I'll protect your family, pay for everything, give you financial security for the rest of your life. Lyra sits down. The weight of it settles over her. A job offer from a vampire. A chance to save her family from debt. Or a death sentence disguised as opportunity. Rose killed herself, she says. Your last anchor. 30 years and she couldn't take it. Yes. And you think I can? Rose was a civilian, a teacher. She never saw combat, never faced real danger, until me. Magnus leans forward. You're different. You operated in war zones, saved lives under fire. You've already survived hell, Dr. Thornwell. My world might be strange, but it's not worse than Fallujah. You don't know that. No, but I'm betting on it. Lyra drinks again. The bourbon helps, clarifies. Terms, if I agree, and I'm not saying I am, but if. I want real terms, contract, lawyer reviewed, nothing hidden. Agreed. 2 years. Starting date flexible so I can close out my affairs. Ending date firm. Agreed. $5 million, total. $2 million up front. $1 million per year for the next 3 years, even if I leave after 2. Agreed. Elisa's medical care, lifetime, all costs, including experimental treatments if her condition worsens. Agreed. My mother's care, full-time nursing, in-home if possible, facility if necessary, until she passes. Agreed. Life insurance, $50 million. Beneficiary is Elise. If I die in your service, she's set for life. Magnus nods. Agreed. And one more thing. Lyra sets down her glass. You teach me how to fight them. The ferals, the vampires, the things that go bump in the night. I'm not going to be a victim. If I'm in this world, I learn how to survive it. Magnus smiles. Bryn will love that. She's been looking for a training partner. Do we have a deal? He stands, extends his hand. We have a deal. Lyra shakes it. The handshake becomes something else. A pulling sensation. A heat that spreads from their joined hands up her arm, into her chest, settling somewhere behind her sternum. What was that? She gasps. The bond forming, not complete. That requires a ritual, but beginning. Magnus releases her hand. You'll feel it more as time passes. My emotions bleeding into yours, your humanity grounding me. That sounds invasive. It is, but necessary. Without it, you're just an employee. With it, you're an anchor. Lyra rubs her chest. The heat is fading, but something remains. A thread. Thin. Connecting her to the man standing across from her. I need sleep, she says. Real sleep. Then we talk about logistics, how this actually works. Guest room is ready, 2nd floor. Bryn will show you. As if summoned, Bryn appears in the doorway. This way, doctor. Lyra follows her upstairs. The room is comfortable. Queen bed, private bathroom, windows overlooking the mountains. Mr. Ashford is fair, Bryn says. He keeps his word. But his world is dangerous. Don't mistake his civility for weakness. I don't. Good. Training starts at 0600 if you accept. Bring comfortable clothes. I don't go easy on students. Bryn leaves. Lyra stands at the window, looks out at darkness and mountains. Somewhere out there, Lucian Drake is planning his next move. Somewhere, ferals are hunting. Somewhere, vampire politics are playing out in blood and money. And she's in the middle of it. By choice this time. She thinks about the check that cleared, the fire that destroyed her home, the daughter sleeping down the hall, safe, protected, because a 700-year-old vampire made a decision, the right decision, even if he made it without asking. Lyra pulls out her phone, opens the banking app. The balance still shocks her. $100,000. Soon to be $2 million. Money she needs. Money that comes with a price. She closes the app, sets the phone aside. Tomorrow, lawyers, contracts. The formal beginning of something that will either save her family or destroy them. Tonight, sleep. Tomorrow, the real work begins. 3 weeks change everything. The contract is signed on a Tuesday. Real lawyers, real terms, 27 pages of legal language that boils down to one truth. Lyra Thornwell belongs to Magnus Ashford's world now. Not owned, but connected. The bond grows stronger each day. Lyra feels it during training sessions with Bryn. 6 a.m. every morning in the ranch's converted barn. Bryn is relentless. Former military, though she won't say which country or which century. She teaches Lyra how to fight things that are faster and stronger than human. Speed beats strength, Bryn says on day 3, demonstrating a joint lock that would break a normal man's arm. On the vampire, it buys 3 seconds. 3 seconds is a lifetime. Use it. Lyra learns pressure points that slow vampiric healing. Silver dust in the eyes. Holy water, a myth, Bryn confirms, but capsaicin oil mixed with silver nitrate works. Aim for joints, tendons, the places where even supernatural bodies have mechanical vulnerabilities. She learns knife work, how to move the blade so it cuts deep, how to target the major vessels even though vampires don't bleed out the same way. By week 2, Lyra can hold her own for 90 seconds against Bryn. Good, Bryn says, not breathing hard despite the sparring. You'll die less quickly now. Encouraging. It's the truth. Vampires are apex predators. Your prey that learned to bite back. Accept that reality and use it. The nights belong to Magnus. He's teaching her a different kind of survival. Vampire politics. The hierarchy. The rules written in blood over centuries. There are 12 major territories in North America, Magnus explains. They sit in his study, maps spread across the desk. Each controlled by an elder vampire. 300 years minimum. We call ourselves lords. Pretentious, but accurate. He points to the Pacific Northwest. This is mine. Portland to Vancouver. Blood trade, tech investments, shipping routes. I've held it for 200 years. His finger moves to California. This is Lucian Drake's. San Francisco to San Diego. He's younger than me. Only 300, but ambitious. He wants expansion. Why now? Why challenge you after 200 years? Magnus is quiet. Then, because he thinks I'm weak, vulnerable, 700 years old and showing cracks. He's not wrong. The bond pulses. Lyra feels his emotion, not clearly, but there. Fatigue, ancient weariness, the weight of centuries pressing down. The anchor bond, she says. Is it supposed to feel like this? Like what? Like I'm carrying some of your weight. Magnus looks at her. Really looks. Yes, that's exactly what it's supposed to feel like. You're grounding me, taking some of the burden, sharing it. And if I can't handle it, then you break, like Rose. His voice is gentle, sad. But you're stronger than Rose, Lyra. You've already carried more than most people ever will. Elise adjusts to the ranch with the resilience of childhood. She video calls with her friends, does her schoolwork remotely. The ranch has a medical facility, a small clinic, really, where a nurse administers her Factor VIII infusions. Mrs. Chen gardens. Cordelia, Lyra's mother, has good days and bad days. On good days, she remembers everything, asks about the ranch, worries about the cost. "We're working," Lyra tells her. "I took a consulting job. It pays well." On bad days, Cordelia thinks she's 25 again, calls Lyra by her sister's name, gets confused about where she is. But she's safe. They're all safe. That's what matters. On day 21, Magnus announces the plan. "The Harvest Gala," he says. "Saturday night, the Sentinel Hotel in Portland. 300 guests, half human, half vampire. All the major players from the West Coast." Lyra sets down her coffee. "You're taking me to a vampire political event?" "I'm presenting you to the court, officially declaring you as my anchor. It's a statement. I'm stable, in control, not vulnerable." "And Lucian Drake?" "We'll be there. Required attendance for all territorial lords. He'll test you, probe for weakness. Try to prove I made a mistake choosing a human anchor." "What if he succeeds?" Magnus smiles. It's not a happy smile. Then he challenges me formally, and we settle this the old way: blood and ash. The Sentinel Hotel is Gothic grandeur wrapped in modern luxury. 100-year-old stone facade, stained glass windows. Inside, crystal chandeliers and marble floors. Lyra stands in front of a full-length mirror in the ranch house, barely recognizing herself. The dress is dark green, forest green, velvet that catches the light. It fits like it was made for her, because it was. Magnus's people took measurements, hired a designer, created something that's both elegant and practical. The neckline is modest, long sleeves, but the back is open, exposing her spine down to her lower back. A deliberate choice, showing vulnerability, Bryn explains, adjusting Lyra's hair into an intricate updo. In vampire culture, exposing your neck or back means you trust your protector. You're making a statement. That I trust Magnus. That you're his, completely. Around Lyra's throat is a silver pendant, obsidian stone set in white gold. It looks decorative, beautiful. Shield generator, Bryn says, and tracker, military grade. If something happens, Magnus knows exactly where you are. The shield stops one attack. Bullets, claws, doesn't matter. After that, you're on your own. Comforting. It's the best we can do. Magnus waits at the bottom of the stairs. He wears a tuxedo. Classic. Timeless. He looks like old money and older power. When he sees Lyra, something crosses his face. Surprise, maybe, or appreciation. "You look like a queen," he says quietly. "I feel like bait." Both can be true. He offers his arm. "Ready to walk into the shark tank?" Lyra takes his arm, feels the bond pulse, his nervousness bleeding into her. He's worried. Not for himself, for her. "I survived Fallujah," she says. "I can survive rich vampires in fancy clothes." Don't underestimate them. The clothes are camouflage. Underneath, they're still predators. The drive to Portland takes 2 hours. Private car. Bryn drives. 2 more security personnel follow in a second vehicle. Lyra watches the landscape pass. Mountains giving way to valleys. Cities appearing like clusters of light in the darkness. "Tell me about Lucian Drake," she says. Magnus doesn't look away from the window. Handsome, charming, 300 years old but looks 40, made his fortune in California real estate and tech investments, smart, strategic, utterly ruthless. Weaknesses? Arrogance. He thinks being younger makes him stronger, more adaptable. He underestimates those of us who remember when the world was different. And Gerald Whitmore, your CFO? Loyal. Been with me for 200 years. Managed my finances since the Industrial Revolution. He's the reason I'm wealthy instead of just old. Magnus finally turns to her. Gerald will be there tonight. He'll seem warm, friendly. He likes you. Thinks you're good for me. Trust him. He's one of the few I do. The bond pulses. Lyra feels truth in his words. Magnus trusts Gerald completely. She tucks that information away. The Sentinel Hotel ballroom is breathtaking. Vaulted ceilings, gold leaf details. A string quartet plays something classical. Vivaldi, maybe. The guests are a mix of spectacular and terrifying. Humans in designer gowns and tailored suits, moving through the crowd with the confidence of wealth and power. Tech CEOs, politicians, old money families, and vampires. They're harder to spot than Lyra expected. No red eyes or fangs on display. They look human, almost, but there's something off. The way they move, too fluid, too precise. The way they don't blink quite often enough. The way they all turn when Magnus enters. A herald, an actual herald in period costume, announces them. Lord Magnus Ashford, King of the Pacific Northwest, and his companion, Dr. Lyra Thornwell. The music doesn't stop, but the conversations do. 300 pairs of eyes fix on Lyra, evaluating, judging, calculating. She lifts her chin, spine straight, the posture drilled into her by years of military bearing. They descend the grand staircase. With each step, Lyra feels the weight of scrutiny, but also something else. Magnus's hand on her arm, steady, solid, the bond humming between them like a live wire. They reach the ballroom floor. The crowd parts, and standing at the center, holding a champagne flute and smiling like he owns the world, is Lucian Drake. He's exactly as Magnus described, handsome in a cruel, sharp way. Dark hair, gray eyes, a tuxedo that probably costs more than a car. He radiates charisma and danger in equal measure. Magnus, Lucian says. His voice is smooth, cultured. We didn't think you'd actually show. After the unfortunate incident with your, what did you call her? Anchor? Lucian. Magnus's voice is ice. Dr. Lyra Thornwell, my anchor, and you will address her with the respect owed a queen. Lucian's smile doesn't waver. He turns his full attention to Lyra. Being looked at by Lucian Drake is like being assessed by a predator. He studies her the way a wolf studies a deer, looking for weakness, for the best place to bite. Doctor, he says, steps closer, invades her personal space deliberately. How interesting, a medical professional. Tell me, what does a trauma surgeon see when she looks at a room full of immortals? Lyra doesn't step back, doesn't blink. I see targets, she says. Her voice carries, clear, confident. Carotid arteries, subclavian veins, the femoral artery in the thigh. Immortal doesn't mean invulnerable. It just means you take longer to die. A gasp ripples through the crowd. You don't threaten Lucian Drake. You especially don't threaten him at a formal gala in front of witnesses. Lucian's smile falters, just for a second, Then it returns, sharper. Spirited. I see why Magnus keeps you. He leans in, whispers so only she and Magnus can hear. Enjoy the party, Doctor. The appetizers are to die for. He walks away. The crowd exhales. Magnus's hand on Lyra's arm tightens. You just made an enemy. I thought I already had one. Now he knows you bite back. That makes you dangerous, interesting. Is that good? It's complicated. For the next 3 hours, Lyra navigates vampire politics. She meets the other territorial lords. Lady Morgana from Seattle. Cool. Calculating. Controls the tech sector blood trade. She looks at Lyra like a spreadsheet to be analyzed. Elder Silas from New York. Ancient. Formal. Disapproves of human anchors on principle. Makes his disdain clear. Isabella Cortés from Mexico City. Young, only 150. Modern. She takes Lyra aside during a lull. Ignore Silas, Isabella says. He's been angry since the Renaissance. You did well with Lucian, standing your ground. Most humans cower. I'm not most humans. No, you're not. Isabella studies her. Word of advice? Watch Gerald Whitmore, Magnus's CFO. He's been acting strange lately. Taking meetings he shouldn't. Moving money oddly. Lyra's instincts flare. You think he's disloyal? I think 200 years is a long time to be anyone's second. People change, even vampires. Isabella drifts away before Lyra can respond. Across the ballroom, Gerald Whitmore himself appears. He's exactly as Lyra remembers from the ranch. Grandfatherly, warm, silver hair, kind eyes. He wears his tuxedo like comfortable clothes. Doctor Thornwell, he greets her. You look magnificent. How are you finding your first vampire gala? Overwhelming. They always are. Gerald takes her arm gently, paternal. Walk with me. Let's get you some air. They step onto a balcony. The Portland skyline spreads below. The Willamette River reflects city lights. Magnus is fortunate, Gerald says. An anchor like you, strong, capable. You'll be good for him. Keep him grounded. That's the idea. He needs it. 700 years takes a toll. I've watched him struggle, watched him lose pieces of himself. Gerald's voice is soft, sincere. You're bringing him back. I see it already. The way he looks at you, cares, feels. Lyra feels the bond pulse. Warmth, genuine affection. Gerald truly cares about Magnus. So why does something feel wrong? Gerald, she starts to say. Her phone vibrates. A text from Bryn. 4 blood banks hit. Simultaneous. Explosions. Security feeds down. Lyra's blood runs cold. We need to find Magnus. What's wrong? Lucian's making his move. They rush inside. The ballroom has changed. Tension thick enough to taste. Magnus stands near the center, phone to his ear. His face is carved from stone. He sees Lyra. Relief flashes across his features. Then his phone buzzes again. He looks at the screen, goes very, very still. Lyra, he says. His voice cuts through the noise. Give me your phone. What? Your phone. Now. She hands it over. Magnus unlocks it. His face goes from pale to gray. He turns the screen toward her. A file transfer, sent 18 minutes ago, while she was on the balcony with Gerald. The recipient, an encrypted number. The content, security protocols, guard rotations, blueprints of Magnus's penthouse in the Ashford Tower. GPS coordinates of his sleeping chamber. "I didn't send that," Lyra says. Her voice sounds distant. "Wrong. Someone hacked. The unauthorized transfer came from your device." Magnus's voice trembles, with rage, with betrayal. "The security codes for my home, the patrol routes, everything Lucian would need to kill me in my sleep." The ballroom goes silent. Every eye turns to them. "Julian, I swear." Lyra reaches for him. He steps back. "Bryn, take her to holding, now." "No!" Lyra's voice cracks. "Think about this. If I was a spy, why would I use my own phone? It's a setup." "Get her out of my sight." Magnus turns his back. "Before I do something I regret." Bryn appears. Her face is impassive, professional, but her grip on Lyra's arm is almost gentle. "Come on, Doctor." Lyra looks past Bryn, sees Lucian Drake across the ballroom. He's not smiling, but there's satisfaction in his eyes. He raises his champagne glass in a small salute, and next to him, disappearing into the crowd, is Gerald Whitmore. "Magnus!" Lyra shouts. "It's Gerald! He's the—" "Enough!" Magnus roars. The sound is physical. Glasses shatter. People stumble back. Bryn pulls Lyra toward the exit. "Don't make this harder." They're halfway across the ballroom when Lyra sees him. Gerald Whitmore, standing near the service entrance, looking directly at her. He mouths 3 words. "I'm sorry, dear." Then he's gone. The security vehicle is armored, reinforced, no way out. Lyra sits in the back. Bryn sits across from her, armed, alert. "He's wrong," Lyra says. "You hacked my phone, planted that transfer. The evidence is absolute. Magnus's systems are impenetrable. Only someone with physical access could bypass the firewalls. Then it's someone in his inner circle, like you, or Gerald, or anyone with access to Magnus's home." Lyra leans forward. "Bryn, you know me. 3 weeks we've trained together. Do I seem like a traitor?" Bryn's expression doesn't change. Seems and is are different things. The vehicle turns a corner, hard. Too hard. Tires screech. The driver shouts. Then the world explodes. The detonation lifts the front of the vehicle, flips it. Lyra's head cracks against metal. Stars burst behind her eyes. The world spins. When it stops, she's upside down. Seatbelt cutting into her chest. Blood dripping from somewhere. Gunfire erupts outside. Not handguns, automatic weapons, heavy caliber, the kind that tears through armor. "Out!" Bryn kicks the door. It falls off its hinges. She pulls Lyra from the wreckage. "Move, now!" They scramble into the street. Portland, Financial District, 3 a.m. Deserted except for the mercenaries rappelling down from the surrounding buildings. Military gear, night vision, coordinated assault. "They're hitting the tower," Bryn realizes. The breach shut down the perimeter defenses. They're going for Magnus. Lyra's head clears, combat instincts taking over. "We have to go back." "You're a prisoner." "I'm the only one who can save him." Lyra grabs Bryn's arm. "Whoever framed me is with Magnus right now, in the tower. If we don't stop them, he dies." Bryn looks at the burning vehicle, at the mercenaries closing in, at the Ashford Tower 10 blocks away, dark and silent where it should be lit. She makes a decision. "If you betray us," Bryn says, handing Lyra a spare pistol, "I will make your death last days." "Deal." They run. 10 blocks through a war zone. Mercenaries control the streets. But Bryn knows the city. Back alleys, service tunnels, underground parking. They reach the tower from below. Maintenance entrance. Bodies litter the floor. Magnus's security team, dead or dying. Lyra checks pulses out of habit, training she can't turn off. Most are beyond help, but one, a young guard, is still breathing. "Elevator," he gasps, blood on his lips. "Penthouse. Gerald. Gerald opened the doors." Lyra's blood turns to ice. "Gerald Whitmore?" The guard nods. Dies. Lyra and Bryn take the freight elevator. It bypasses the lockdown, rises in silence. "Gerald," Bryn says, disbelief in her voice. 200 years. Why? "I don't know, but we're about to find out." The elevator reaches the penthouse. The doors open to carnage. Magnus's home is destroyed. Furniture overturned, art slashed, bodies everywhere. His guards, his people, all dead. And the smell, rot, decay, wolfsbane. They move through the wreckage, silent, weapons ready. The library doors are blown open. Inside, Magnus kneels on the floor, hands gripping the edge of his desk, vomiting black blood. His skin is gray, veins bulging black beneath the surface, necrosis spreading. Standing over him, holding a tablet and an ornate gold revolver, is Gerald Whitmore. 200 years, Magnus," Gerald says. His voice is sad, regretful. 200 years of managing your money, building your empire, watching you play king while I did the real work. Magnus tries to speak. Can't. More blood. "You don't even remember, do you?" Gerald continues. 1824, Boston. Your father came to my bank for a loan. I was heir to the Whitmore fortune, banking dynasty going back to the Revolutionary War. He pours himself a drink from Magnus's decanter. Your father turned me, promised me partnership. Instead, he made me his accountant, his servant. And when he died, you inherited me like furniture. Gerald drinks. 200 years I've waited, managed your money, grew your wealth, waited for the perfect opportunity. He gestures with the gun. Then Lucian offered me a deal. 60% of California blood trade, 500 million annually. All I had to do was lower the shields, poison you, frame the human. He looks up, sees Lyra and Bryn in the doorway. Ah, the doctor. Right on time. Lyra doesn't think, just acts. Muscle memory from countless emergencies. She fires. The shot takes Gerald in the shoulder. Not fatal. Lyra's aim is off, but it spins him, shatters his clavicle. Gerald roars. His face shifts, the grandfatherly mask falling away, revealing the monster beneath. Fangs extend. Eyes go black. He's fast, faster than the ferals. He crosses the room in a blur, reaches for Lyra. Bryn intercepts. Her blade meets his claws. They crash through the window onto the terrace. Lyra runs to Magnus. He's dying. She can see it. The wolfsbane has spread, shutting down his organs one by one. Even vampires need functioning organs. "Lyra," he gasps, blood on his teeth. "You came back. I told you, I don't break." She scans the room, sees a panic room door hidden behind a bookshelf. "Can you move?" "Leave me." "Shut up." She hooks her arms under his, drags him. He's dead weight, impossibly heavy. But Lyra spent 6 months in Iraq dragging wounded soldiers from combat zones. She knows how to move dead weight. She gets him to the panic room, slams the button. The steel door slides shut just as bullets spark against the metal. They're sealed in. The panic room is small, lined with monitors and weapons, medical supplies. Lyra doesn't hesitate. She finds the cabinet marked with a red cross. Inside, vials, syringes, combat medical gear, and a blue vial marked Antidote, Wolf's Bane. Her hands shake. She forces them steady, draws the liquid, checks for air bubbles. "This is going to hurt," she says. "Everything hurts." She stabs the needle directly into his heart, depresses the plunger. Magnus convulses. His back arches off the floor. His eyes fly open, glowing a terrible amber color. Then he collapses, gasping. The gray recedes from his skin. The black veins begin to fade. "Did it work?" Lyra asks. Magnus looks at her. "I almost killed you, cast you out, and you ran into the fire for me." "You're an idiot, but you're my idiot. Contract says 2 years. Can't collect if you're dead." He laughs. It's weak, but genuine. Then he sees the monitors. The screens show the penthouse, filled with Lucian's mercenaries, and Lucian himself, standing in the ruins, waiting. "Trapped," Magnus says. "Army outside, king poisoned, and a doctor with a pistol." Lyra checks the weapon. "How many bullets stop a vampire?" "Depends on the vampire. Lucian? More than you have." She looks at the weapons rack, finds a shotgun, checks the chamber. Silver buckshot. "Then we get creative." Magnus sits up, leans against the wall. The antidote is working, but slowly. He's weak, recovering. "The bond," he says. "Do you feel it?" Lyra closes her eyes, focuses. Yes, there it is, the thread connecting them. Thin, fragile, but present. "I feel it." "Good, because I need you to do something. Something that will either save us or kill us both." "Tell me." Magnus looks at her, his eyes clear, focused. "The anchor bond works both ways. I ground you. You ground me. But in moments of crisis, we can share more than just emotions." "Share what?" "Strength. Life force. Your humanity can fuel my power. Your rage. Your will to survive. It can make me stronger." "How?" "You have to mean it. Have to want it with everything you are. And you have to touch me. Skin to skin. Complete the circuit." Lyra stares at him. "You want me to charge you like a battery." Crude, but accurate. Outside, metal screeches. Lucian's people are cutting through the panic room door. They have maybe 5 minutes. "What do I do?" Lyra asks. "Think about what you're fighting for. Your daughter. Your mother. The promise I made to protect them. Get angry, furious. Channel everything you've ever survived. Every battle. Every patient you lost. Every moment you refused to quit." He offers his hand. "And give it to me." Lyra takes his hand. She closes her eyes. Thinks about Elise. 10 years old. Brave. Scared. Waiting at the ranch, thinking her mother is safe. Thinks about her mother, Cordelia. Forgetting more each day, but still trying, still fighting. Thinks about Fallujah, the IED blast, her friends dying, her hands trying to hold them together, failing. Thinks about every patient she lost, every time she wasn't fast enough, smart enough, good enough. The rage builds. Not hot rage, cold, focused. The anger of someone who's been pushed too far. "You promised," she whispered. "You promised my family would be safe. You promised 2 years. You don't get to die and break that promise. You don't get to make me a widow before I'm even a wife." The bond flares. Heat rushes from her into him. Through their joined hands, up his arm, into his chest. Magnus gasps. His eyes blaze amber, then gold. Power flooding through him. "More," he grits out. Lyra thinks about Gerald, the betrayal, the poison, the frame job. Thinks about Lucian, his smug face, his certainty that she would break. "No," she says out loud. Her voice gains strength. "I survived 3 tours in Iraq. Survived debt. Survived poverty. Survived watching my daughter bleed from hemophilia. I'm not breaking for you. Not breaking for anyone." The bond becomes a roar. Magnus's skin shifts from gray to pale white. The wolfsbane's effects burn away like frost in sunlight. He stands. No weakness, no trembling, pure power. "Thank you," he says. Then he kisses her. It's not gentle, it's desperate. Grateful. A soldier thanking the medic who pulled him from the fire. When he pulls back, his eyes are blazing. "Stay behind me, and if anyone gets past me, make them regret it. I know." Magnus walks to the control panel, hits the door release. The steel door hisses open. What comes next is not a battle. It's a slaughter. Magnus Ashford has lived 700 years, survived wars, plagues, the rise and fall of empires. He is not a king because someone gave him a title. He's a king because he earned it in blood. He moves like death itself, faster than Lyra can track. The first mercenary doesn't even see him, just feels the sword that separates his head from his shoulders. The second gets his rifle torn in half. His body follows. They keep coming. Lucian's people, well-trained, well-armed, coordinated. It doesn't matter. Magnus cuts through them like a scythe through wheat. Lyra follows, stays in the safe zone behind him. But when one mercenary breaks through, tries to flank, she's ready. Shotgun, center mass, silver buckshot. The mercenary drops. Another one. This time she aims better, doesn't think, just does what Bryn taught her. 3 seconds. Use them. The penthouse becomes a graveyard. Bodies. Ash. The acrid smell of gunpowder and death. And then Lucian Drake enters. He doesn't rush, doesn't attack, just walks in like he owns the place. "Impressive," he says, surveying the carnage. "The wolfsbane should have killed you, Magnus. But here you are, recovered. How?" "I have something you don't, Lucian." Magnus grips his sword. Blood drips from the blade. An anchor. A real one. Not a trophy. A partner. Lucian's eyes shift to Lyra. The doctor, how sweet. His hands lengthen. Fingernails become obsidian claws, 6 inches long, sharp enough to cut stone. Let's see how long she lasts. He attacks. The fight is beyond Lyra's ability to track. 2 vampires. 300 years and 700 years of experience. Moving at speeds that blur reality. They destroy what's left of the penthouse, crash through walls, shatter furniture. Magnus is skilled, a master. But Lucian is right. The wolfsbane took its toll. Magnus is weakened, slower than normal. Lucian lands a heavy blow, backhands Magnus across the room. Magnus crashes into the fireplace. Stone crumbles around him. He tries to rise. Can't. "It's over," Lucian says, stalks forward. "You let your emotions make you weak. You let a human distract you. Anchor bonds are chains, Magnus, beautiful chains. But chains nonetheless." He raises his claws for the killing strike. Magnus looks past him, at Lyra. Their eyes meet. The bond pulses, and Lyra understands. She drops the shotgun, runs, not at Lucian, at Magnus. "Going to die with him?" Lucian pauses, amused. "How romantic." Lyra slides across the debris-strewn floor, ignores Lucian, grabs Magnus by the collar, hauls his face up to hers. His eyes are unfocused, dazed. She slaps him, hard. The sound echoes in the destroyed penthouse. "Hey!" she yells directly into his face. "You promised my daughter. You promised Elise a year of treatment. You promised my mother care. If you die here, you break those promises." She shakes him. "Get up. You're 700 years old. You survived D-Day. You survived Normandy. You are the king of the Pacific Northwest. Act like it." Something shifts in Magnus's eyes. The fog clears. He absorbs her rage, her fury, her refusal to quit. The anchor bond doesn't just ground him, it fuels him. Magnus's hand shoots out, grabs Lucian's wrist as it descends, stops the claws inches from his throat. "She's right," Magnus whispers. "I made promises." He twists, bone cracks. With his other hand, Magnus makes a pulling motion. Telekinetic power he didn't have the strength for moments ago. The sword flies across the room, into his grip. In one fluid motion, Magnus drives the blade up, through Lucian's chest, pins him to what's left of the wall. Lucian gasps, claws at the blade. "How? You were drained." Magnus leans in close. "I have something you'll never understand, Lucian. Someone worth fighting for. Someone who reminds me why I survive." He twists the blade. Lucian Drake, 300 years old, dissolves into ash. The silence that follows is absolute. Magnus stands there, sword still embedded in the wall, breathing hard. The penthouse around them is destroyed. Bodies everywhere, ash settling like gray snow. He turns, looks at Lyra. She's sitting on the floor, leaning against what used to be a kitchen island. Her dress is torn, hair a mess, covered in dust and someone else's blood. Exhausted. Magnus walks to her, slowly, each step deliberate. He kneels. Glass shards cut into his knees. He doesn't care. "Lyra," he says. His voice breaks. "I almost killed you. I accused you. I let Gerald manipulate me. There is no penance enough for that." Lyra looks at him, sees the guilt eating him alive. She reaches out, touches his cheek. "You were scared. 700 years alone will do that. Trust is a muscle. You haven't used it in a long time. It cramped. I broke the deal. I shouted at you, at the gala." "Yeah, you did." Lyra manages a tired smile. "Technically, I should walk, take the money and run." Magnus flinches, accepting the judgment. "But," Lyra continues, "I'm willing to negotiate a new contract." His eyes widen. "Terms," she says. "No more secrets. If you think I betrayed you, you ask. You don't throw me in a cell." Agreed. "Second, Bryn keeps training me. I'm tired of being the victim." Agreed. "Third," Lyra holds his gaze, "you owe me a new dress and dinner. somewhere nobody tries to kill us. Magnus smiles. I know a place. The food is mediocre, but the company will be excellent. Do we have a deal? He takes her hand, helps her stand. They look around the destroyed penthouse. The bodies, the ash, the ruins of what was. We need to leave, Lyra says. Police will come. Let them come. Magnus pulls her close. Let them see. The king is back, and he's not alone. Footsteps on the stairs. Bryn limps in, battered, bleeding, but alive. Gerald Whitmore's body is slung over her shoulder, unconscious, wounded. Caught the traitor, Bryn reports. He's alive, barely. What are your orders? Magnus looks at Gerald. 200 years of friendship, of trust, ended in poison and betrayal. Take him to the authorities, human authorities. Let human law judge him for the arson, the murders, everything. Bryn raises an eyebrow. Not vampire justice? No. Magnus glances at Lyra. I've learned something tonight. About mercy. About choosing humanity over vengeance. He touches the bond, feels Lyra's approval. Put him in a cell where he can age. Slowly, humanly. That's punishment enough. Sirens wail in the distance. Helicopter, Magnus says. We're going back to the ranch. They walk out, through the destruction, past the bodies, into the Portland night. Below, police cars and fire trucks converge, lights strobing red and blue. The helicopter waits on the roof, rotors already spinning. They climb in. Liftoff. As the city shrinks below them, Lyra looks at Magnus. He's holding her hand. The bond between them is strong now, solid, not fragile, not tentative, real. Thank you, he says quietly, barely audible over the rotors. For coming back, for believing. You're welcome. He kisses her hand, gentle, reverent. Long live the Queen, he murmurs. Lyra laughs. It's exhausted, slightly hysterical. I'm not a queen. You are to me. They fly through the night, toward the ranch, toward safety, toward whatever comes next, together. 1 year later. The vineyard in Willamette Valley is breathtaking in autumn. Rows of grapevines heavy with fruit. The valley floor a patchwork of gold and red. The mountains beyond already dusted with early snow. Lyra walks through the vines. Her hands trail over the leaves. The house behind her is timber and stone, not massive, not ostentatious, just beautiful. Home. Elise runs ahead, 11 now, taller, stronger. The Factor VIII treatments have stabilized her condition. No emergency bleeds in 8 months. She's laughing, playing with a golden retriever puppy Magnus gave her for her birthday. Mom, look how fast she runs. I see, baby. Behind Lyra, Cordelia sits on the porch, knitting. A nurse sits nearby, reading, ready if needed. But Cordelia is having a good day. She remembers everything. The move, the vineyard, the strange man who visits every week. He's a vampire, isn't he? Cordelia asked once, 3 months ago. Lucid, clear-eyed. Yes, Lyra admitted. Are you safe? Yes. Are you happy? Lyra thought about it, really thought. I think so, most days. Cordelia patted her hand. Then that's enough. Now, Lyra reaches the end of the vineyard row. A small shed stands there, converted into a meditation space. Inside, two objects sit on a simple shelf. Her bronze star, the medal from Iraq, Valor Under Fire. Next to it, Magnus's Distinguished Service Cross, from Normandy. Same words, different war. She touches both. I thought I'd find you here. Magnus stands in the doorway. He visits every weekend, sometimes during the week if Elise asks. Their relationship is complicated. Not romance, not quite friendship, partnership, built on trust earned the hard way. The medals, Lyra says, side by side, two soldiers, two wars, two survivors. He steps inside, stands next to her. Bryn says you're ready, he says. You're 6 more months of training, and you'll qualify as a full member of my security team. I don't want to be security. No? I want to be a doctor. That's who I am, what I do. Lyra turns to him. But a doctor who understands your world, who can treat humans and vampires. Bridge the gap. Magnus smiles. I can arrange that. Medical research position. Vampire physiology. Cutting edge. That's the other reason I came out here, to tell you. The contract ends in 6 months. 2 years, as agreed. His smile fades. Yes. I've been thinking about renewal terms. Hope flickers in his eyes, carefully controlled. What terms? 5 more years. Not as an anchor, as a partner. Equal footing. I run the medical research division. You run the business. We build something that helps both our peoples. That's ambitious. I learned from the best. Magnus considers. Salary? 2 million annually, plus benefits, housing allowance, education fund for Elise. Generous. I'm worth it. He laughs, genuine, warm. You are. They shake hands. The bond pulses. Different now. Not anchoring, just connecting. 2 people who chose each other. You know, Magnus says, when I saw you in that emergency room, I thought you'd break. Everyone breaks eventually. And I was wrong. You're steel all the way through, the kind forged in fire. He looks at the medals. The kind that holds when everything else fails. They walk back to the house together. Elise meets them on the porch. Mr. Magnus, will you stay for dinner? Chef made borscht, the good kind. I'd be honored, Elise. Cordelia looks up from her knitting. Set an extra place, dear. Our friend is staying. They go inside. The house smells like cooking, wood smoke, home. That night, after dinner, after Elise is tucked in bed, after Cordelia has retired to her room, Lyra and Magnus sit on the porch. Stars spread above them, the vineyard dark and peaceful below. What did you learn? Lyra asks. This year. From me. From being anchored. Magnus is quiet for a long time. Then, I learned that strength isn't about living forever. It's about finding reasons to keep living. I learned that trust isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing we do. He looks at her. And I learned that 700 years of loneliness isn't worth the safety of never being hurt. That's good learning. What about you? What did you learn? Lyra thinks. I learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. I learned that family isn't just blood. It's who you choose to fight for. And I learned that sometimes the person society calls too hard or too rigid is exactly the person strong enough to heal what's broken. She stands, stretches. Because we're both broken, aren't we? You from centuries, me from wars. But together, we hold. Magnus stands, offers his hand. Not as king, not as employer, as friend. Together we hold, he agrees. They shake. The bond settles. Comfortable, warm. Above them, stars wheel in their ancient patterns. Below them, a vineyard grows. And in the house, a little girl with hemophilia sleeps soundly, dreaming of dogs and futures, safe, protected, because sometimes the monsters in the dark aren't the real danger. Sometimes the real danger is forgetting how to be human. And sometimes the only cure is someone brave enough to remind you. Someone with hands scarred from war, a voice that doesn't break, and 6 words that changed everything. Shout at me again, and this ends. Not with a threat, but with a promise. To hold the line, to keep fighting, to remember what it means to live. Even after 700 years, even after war, even after everything.